on, everybody? It's Buddy Spaz, Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check. And yeah, once again, no co-host, very, very little energy, talking about WWE, so I'm not going to fake energy. I'm not going to lie. We are here to talk about Extreme Rules, and this is going out extremely late. The week was loaded up. It was more exciting and more prudent to talk about all the stuff going on in AEW, so a lot of stuff has fallen by the wayside. There is some stuff coming. Whenever I do get Jake back on the show, we are going to tackle the entire topic that is the new NXT. I'm not really touching on that myself because it's very much a what have they done with my boy type of situation. The brand, not Jake. Shout out to Jake. Go show him some love at Countdown Ended. But I figured there is a pay-per-view. I couldn't let it completely go without mentioning it. Haven't talked about WWE at all, especially main roster WWE, in a long time, other than doing specific topical videos and whatnot. So I got the matches in front of me. We're going to go through them quickly. This is probably going to be one of the shorter podcasts that you've gotten from me in a while. There's only 6 matches to talk about. If you ever have seen a preview that I've done either by myself or with Guapo or with Jake, you know that we talk about what's not happening on the show first. And we got to talk first of all about the fact that it's Extreme Rules, and there's no Extreme Rules matches except for Balor Roman. So we can have a conversation here that everybody has had 100 times. WWE needs to get rid of the themed pay-per-views. WWE needs to plan better. WWE needs to have regular pay-per-views and insert stipulations when stipulations are warranted, not just because it's September and the calendar says so. But, I mean, if you want to look at the glass half full, that will make Roman versus Balor, I guess, stick out, make it feel important as the main event. The fact that it's no DQ, but really I think it's to get them out of some creative woes that we're going to talk about shortly. Speaking of the Universal Championship, let's talk about the brand new WWE Champion that doesn't have a match tonight. First of all, Big E cashing in Money in the Bank, winning the WWE Championship, I guess officially moving back to Raw a couple weeks before the draft. Really surprising that one of the most positive things that's happened on main roster WWE in a long time is not reflected on this pay-per-view. Now, I hope that that's not going to be something that's postponed until, the Saudi Arabia show, which is going to factor into a lot of things, unfortunately. But Big E winning the title, it was hot-shotted on Raw for whatever reasons you want to speculate. I think people said they were hot-shotting it for ratings, but Raw doesn't compete with anything on Mondays, so I don't know what kind of argument that is. I mean, people are right now they're trying to do the Wednesday Night War thing, comparing Dynamite and Raw when they're on different nights, and people are probably watching both, whether they want to admit it or not. I think you could have done the Lashley-Orton thing and given Big E his cash-in moment on this show. Instead, that would have been a more unpredictable thing than the Universal Championship that we're going to talk about shortly. But Big E's not the only one not reflected in this card. There's a bunch of title situations that are not reflected. You got Rated RKO, and I mean, Riddle is popular despite what SJWs want you to believe. Randy Orton has value despite what snarky wrestling fans will tell you. We've got brand new women's tag team champions that happened on Raw. That could have happened on the pay-per-view. Happy for Rhea Ripley. I really am. Happy for Nikki Cross, even despite the current character that she's. I think old, crazy, sanity Nikki Cross could have meshed better with Rhea Ripley if you were going to make them a tag team. But what do I know? That took place on Raw instead, and what took place on SmackDown instead was a rematch for the Intercontinental Championship between Apollo Crews and why is my brain hurting me right now? Shinsuke Nakamura. Now, on the one hand, I understand that not being on pay-per-view, right? I really do. Because Shinsuke Nakamura, Apollo Crews has happened, I think, 8 times, and the score is 8-0. So that's something. The Commander Aziz thing is dead. But the gimmick of King Nakamura with Rick Boogs as his hype man is just starting to pick up steam. So you could have You could have had a thing there where, okay, Apollo Crews is just the other guy on the other side of the ring, but you could have given the pay-per-view audience an opportunity to see Nakamura and Rick Boogs, and that could have been fun. Now, all these things being missing, it could be the whole idea that they're saving things for the Saudi show, which is kind of a bummer, and that's really not a conversation I want to have tonight too much. And it also could be, WWE learned during COVID, especially when we were in the empty arenas, etc., that you can't drag out a pay-per-view forever. So now if we cycle it out, and next time around there's no SmackDown title, and maybe we leave the US title off and we cycle it all in and out, and maybe the women's tag title gets a more prominent spot, seeing as both women's singles titles are on this show. If it's that kind of situation, especially on a B pay-per-view, that could be a cool story to have, because then you could have Universal title stories happening on SmackDown and WWE stories happening at pay-per-views and whatever. I just hope it's not always the same chess pieces on the same side of the board, if that makes sense. And the last thing that I want to touch on is this whole storyline they've got going on SmackDown right now between Sonya Deville and Naomi. Now, as it plays out so far, is that Naomi quietly sort of asked for her move to SmackDown. I don't know whether that's the kayfabe thing or whether that's what's actually happened. I mean, in real life, she is the partner of one of the Usos. Her being on SmackDown, it makes more sense. People are saying that they're going to put her in the bloodline. Please don't put her in the bloodline. Please don't ruin nice things. But the storyline is that nobody told Sonya Deville, and Sonya Deville thinks that Adam Pearce did this without her knowledge, and she's sort of frustrated about that, which is fine. And I mean, I know we don't want to get bogged down with, authority figure storylines. That's one of the big key points of NXT before they changed it, was you had William Regal, who was the authority figure who came in when he needed to, but it wasn't a bickering match every week with somebody, and obviously it's one of the drawing things towards AEW, who don't really have an authority figure at all. I mean, they sort of talk about Tony Khan and the EVPs work it into their heel work, but it's not a steady thing. But there's all the people out there right now, and I get exhausted and bored talking about shit like this. It's like, well, look at how they're treating Naomi. Just another reason, just another example, just another excuse for WWE to be racist. And I hate that shit. It's no secret to anybody that I don't think Naomi's any good. I don't. We're in the era of not making women arm candy and appreciating them as athletes, and getting the Shayna Baszlers and the Ronda Rouseys and the Charlotte Flairs out there for their athleticism and their charisma and their character ability, and giving them main events and all that. And you've got this person here who's got a rip off Jeff Hardy entrance, has tag teamed with everybody under the sun to get her over to see if she could get the rub, and her finisher is still an ass to the face, and she turned the SmackDown Championship into a Christmas tree, and people remember that because we're not goldfish. So I don't think Naomi's that great. I really don't. But put that aside and look at the story that they're telling. Here's Sonya Deville, who had an extra talent thrust upon her roster without her knowledge. There's several stories already going on. There's the title picture, which has two people that don't deserve to be there, and Becky Lynch. You got all the sub-stories going on with the occasional Women's Tag Team Championship, and you've got this feud going on in the mid-card with Liv and Carmella and Toni Storm and all that kind of thing. So she's been given a talent to add to her roster that she didn't really know about, who keeps demanding time. And I don't know about you, but when I go to work, I don't go in there and tell my boss what I'm going to do every day. Now, I have a very boring warehouse job. My job doesn't change very much from day to day. But I guarantee you that I don't walk into the warehouse and tell my boss which orders I'm picking that day. I don't tell my boss that, hey, I showed up Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, so I should get a raise. I should be featured more prominently. When you go have your business meeting, or when you meet with our next customer, you should be talking about me, not the company as a whole. And I definitely don't threaten my boss or try to fight them. Naomi, the babyface, and gee, why are we calling her a babyface? Why is she the babyface by default? I wonder, could it be social cues? Could it be identity politics? Those are all the things that she's done. And this week on SmackDown, it's rare for me to do a pay-per-view preview after SmackDown, because usually I'm recording them on Thursday, but I've actually seen SmackDown this week. Last week they showed the replay of her basically following Sonya Deville around and basically threatening her if she didn't give her a match or give her what she wanted or whatever. This week in the ring, she basically went out to the ring to say, you know, I don't care, you know, my boss can go fuck herself, I'm going to have a match anyway, who's going to come out and fight me? And she was removed. And I'm sorry, that's what would happen in real life. Sonya Deville is not a heel. I mean, here's the thing. It doesn't make any sense. People are backing Naomi because it's what she does, and people are afraid that if you don't back Naomi, you're going to get called racist. Trust me, I'm the guy that got called racist because I said Ember Moon should kick the shit out of Naomi. Think about that. Think about that long and hard for a second. But she's taking over the show, she's running roughshod over her workplace, and her boss removed her because in a real life scenario that would be contributing to a dangerous workplace, or any other terminology you want to use. Now obviously down the line they're going to take all this toxic behavior and call it babyface attributes, because WWE don't know what an actual babyface is, and it's going to bring Sonya Deville out of inactivity, and it's going to put her back in the ring. And because we're under the delusion that Naomi's the babyface, Sonya Deville is going to lose. So here's the thing. Mix a little bit of the real life in here, and I don't want to dwell on this either because it's her personal business and not really something we should be focusing on, but Sonya Deville was removed from wrestling for some pretty scummy shit. Some of the most horrendous things I can imagine. The psycho fan that stalked her at her house and tried to do X, Y, and Z. She had left the company because of these traumatic experiences, and she's come back in a non-combative role that gives her a little bit less exposure and all that kind of thing. And I want to believe that she's taken over this role because it's what she's comfortable with in the moment, and when she's comfortable getting back in the ring, she's going to get back in the ring. And all of that is going to go to waste. All of that should be good, that should be positive, that should be focused on and accentuated, is going to be squashed because this ridiculously entitled toxic behavior being personified by Naomi is what everybody else calls a babyface. So we're going to waste the actual return of Sonya Deville on a wrestler who's crap because of outside social pressure. And even when that happens, WWE is still going to be called racist. And I mean, that's crazy because we're literally talking about the same show, the same brand, the same Friday night slot, where the last two people to hold that belt were Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks. That's all I got. It is what it is. The story doesn't make any sense because it's WWE and they can't write baby faces, but the fact that certain chunks of the fan base are willing to go with that storyline, and somehow Sonya Deville's the bad guy, and somehow WWE are the bad guys, and somehow a wrestler that can't wrestle should get what she wants anyway and should be handed the moon because of other things, it's fucking bullshit. And that's all I got to say about that. I spent way too much time. I spent way more time than is deserved on that particular part of the show because there's just bad shit coming down the pipe. Eventually, we're going to get to some Big Four pay-per-view, and the main event, if you want to call it a main event, is going to be Sasha Banks, Bianca Belair, and Naomi. And we're going to have it shoved down our throats how great that is. And it's going to be shit. And somebody's going to hurt somebody. And I'm going to laugh a whole lot. Let's talk about something else instead. Let's talk about some other people that are scraping for acknowledgement, that are scraping for any TV time. One of them is literally only having her second pay-per-view match in her entire WWE career. Gee, I wonder why. Let's talk about Carmella versus Liv Morgan. Now, this is not the first choice that I would have done. I would have done it the other way around. I don't know why my camera's out of focus, but that's something we can talk about later. We had Liv Morgan versus Zelina Vega to get to Liv Morgan versus Carmella. I would have done it the other way around. Carmella, incredibly underutilized, incredibly underrated. I think she's sort of not as bad as the Bellas, but I think she sort of gets put in that Bella category. Oh, she just got this because of X, Y, and Z. When actually she's a whole lot better than anybody wants to admit, including me. There was a long time where I was like, why is she getting this, that, or the next thing? She was the one that got fucked at SummerSlam because she was brought out to basically be a punchline before Becky Lynch came out. And how crap is that? You're brought out there to basically have it reinforced in everybody's mind that you're not a worthy contender. How? That's really shit. Liv Morgan has an insane social media following. The girl is the only one left out of the Riot Squad. All due respect to Ruby Soho and what she's doing in AEW right now. The match with Britt Baker was awesome, but she's sort of floated out on her own, and she's the last kid standing out of the Riot Squad, and the following she has is great. If you listen to the crowd with an unbiased ear, you hear the response that she gets. The fact that this is only her second ever singles match on pay-per-view is fucking ridiculous. Now, is this match going to be anything? No, not really. It's going to be a mid-card. We're going to play up the Carmella and Zelina Vega tag team, and there's going to be some double teaming, and it's going to probably end in a schmoz, unless Toni Storm is out there with Liv Morgan, in which case it could be one of those, hey, this could have happened on weekly TV, where the match ends quickly and they turn it into a tag match. Now, I could go on a whole separate rant about how another person that literally has had 2 matches since she came to the main roster, and that's Toni Storm. But I won't, because I think she's getting involved in this, and I think she's going to have an impact on the result. Now, if Zelina Vega and Toni Storm are just on the outside helping their respective friends/partners, that's a cool story. If they do a quick schmoz finish of the single to turn it into a tag, they could put this, I would say, maybe this will justify why there's not a tag team title match on the card. But you could do Liv versus Carmella. Bump it to the pre-show. Now, I know that that's a degradation, and that's something I don't usually support. But have this on the pre-show, intending to give it a bad finish, with the run-ins from the friends, and then bump it to a tag team match on the card. Call it a number 1 contenders match. We know that Shotzi and Nox have made their intentions known against Nikki ASH and Rhea Ripley. They're going to have a title match relatively soon. I think it's next week. Somebody put it down in the box below and let me know. So have a tag team title match next week and have this match set as, okay, the match after that, these are the next contenders. Because I'm sorry, Nikki ASH, I don't want them to have a short title run per se, but if you want to give me a title match later on down the line that's Shotzi Blackheart and Tegan Nox versus Liv Morgan and Toni Storm, that's a match I really want to see. It really, really is. Or have a gauntlet with these 4 teams. Yes, it's not without its merits that the women's tag team division on the main roster isn't huge, but you do have one, and you can show it. Like, take 20 minutes, have a mini gauntlet with these 4 teams. You can do a lot with that. As far as the singles match, if it just goes ahead as a straight singles match and does none of the creative things that I've just mentioned, I'd love to see Liv Morgan get a win over Carmella. Carmella needs to crawl herself back up to the singles title, but I don't think that's happening right now. Priest versus Hardy versus Sheamus. Triple threat match for the US title. Now, I've heard 3 different things. I've heard that it's a regular triple threat. I've heard that it's an elimination triple threat. I've heard that it's an elimination table triple threat. Either way, Priest has to win this. Big fan of Hardy. Hardy's not going to carry a title right now. Big fan of Sheamus and what he can do in certain scenarios, but at the same time, he doesn't need it right now, and as I say, his character only works in certain scenarios. Damian Priest, as your old school NXT guy, I'll say this. Damian Priest is one of the few guys in the past little while that they've called up from NXT and not totally buried. They put him with The Miz and Morrison for a long time. They kept him in prominent spots. Around WrestleMania time, they had him doing all the Bad Bunny stuff. You had him having a lot of matches with Morrison. I think it was him versus Morrison right before they went back to having crowds. This guy is on an okay trajectory. Now, are they treating him like gold? No. Are they doing a stellar job? No. Are they doing way better with him than any other recent NXT call-up? Yes. So let's hold on to the little strings of hope that we can. Priest has to win this. If there's any other response, then I think they're pretty much idiots. Usos versus the Street Profits for the SmackDown Tag Team titles. Montez Ford got destroyed by Roman Reigns on SmackDown, and it was really, really, really funny. Angelo Dawkins was at a friend's wedding. Now, that looked like it was a wink and a nod type thing. Who got married this weekend? I don't know. Somebody shared around a picture of Braun Strowman in a get-up. There goes the lights again. Why? There we go. Braun Strowman was also in a suit for somebody's wedding as well. So obviously somebody got married this weekend. But anyways, Street Profits are going to take on the Usos. Now, the more entertaining member of the Street Profits is also the guy that has the unfortunate duty of being married to Bianca Belair. And he got mauled on Friday. Now, how much is 2 days worth of recovery? Are they just going to beat him down, and win? Either way, they're gonna win. There's an interesting story to tell here because we know that Montez Ford is married to Bianca Belair. There are the rumors, even though I don't like them, that Naomi's going to join the Bloodline. Is that going to be some kind of 6-person mixed tag at some point? Because that sounds terrible. Usos are one of the greatest tag teams WWE's had in like the past 10 years. I'm sorry, they just are. Street Profits are great as well. Please do not misquote me. Please do not misunderstand me. But the Usos, when you think of the tag team division in WWE, especially on the main roster, you think of the Usos. And right now, that solidarity with Roman Reigns doing the Bloodline thing, you can't take the titles off them right now because them having the tag team titles adds to the Roman Reigns story. It's one of those leave the title where it is. I know it sounds boring, but I don't know. What do you want? Charlotte versus Alexa, another match that pisses off the SJWs. Yes, all the people that were bitching that Alexa is just doing character work and not really wrestling. Why does she get off so scot-free with such an easy setup? All she has to do is do weird segments in the back while everybody else is hurting themselves in the ring. Well, now she's in the ring. Now she's having a match and people are still upset. Now, they got a bit real as real as WWE can get in their promo on Monday. Both of them saying, hey, you're a knockoff Flair, hey, you're a knockoff Wyatt. People are saying that they should have stripped the title off of Charlotte because of all the cancel culture surrounding Dark Side of the Ring, which is also retarded. I'm sure you guys can guess my opinions on that. Charlotte is one of the best women in the WWE. It's just a fact. I'm sorry. You might not have to like it. You don't have to like that you look out of your window in the morning and see that the sky is blue. But the sky is blue. You can't help but look at the WWE and see that Charlotte is one of the best women's wrestlers in wrestling right now, today. And she didn't need any identity politics to get her that title. I'm just saying. Now, as far as all the spooky Twisted Sisters, Twisted Bliss stuff, you guys know that's right up my alley. I love the goofy stuff. I love Decay. I love Sue Young and all her girls. I love Violent by Design. I love Abaddon. I love the spooky Elseworlds shit. If Alexa Bliss wins the title and makes herself her own like Twisted Sister Fiend belt, I'm gonna love it. I'm gonna love even more watching everybody react on Twitter, because here's the thing: Charlotte wins a title, and then everybody immediately switches into that mode of anybody but Charlotte. Anybody but Charlotte. Charlotte's terrible. Charlotte's the worst possible example you can think of, and even though she's one of the best. And then they say, okay, cool, her opponent's Alexa Bliss. Well, we don't like that either. Well, just say, I like this person, and this is the only person that's ever allowed to hold a title ever in the history of existence. But you won't say that, because then it makes you look like a tool, right? Right. Speaking of which, Becky Lynch is going to beat Bianca Belair. Sorry, I should have said Charlotte versus Alexa. Charlotte's a great wrestler. If she keeps the title, it's well-deserved. Alexa has been doing a lot of great character work, and she's wrestling more now, and I think if you give her the title, it'll be fun. I'm fine either way. Becky's going to beat Bianca Belair because she's a bigger star. And that's the end of that. You're probably going to build to... I mean, if they are doing women's matches at the Saudi show, which is a big deal in its own right, that people don't give WWE any credit for. WWE is pretty shit right now. I'm not going to lie. But they did break the barrier that they said they were going to break in Saudi Arabia, and they got women's wrestling at a live show in Saudi Arabia. You can't take that away from them either. I'm pretty sure if they're going to build a big match for that show, it's going to be Becky versus Sasha Banks. Now, am I worried about Becky at that point? Yes, for obvious reasons. But right now, Becky's great. Becky's great. Oh, well, don't bring her back as a heel. That's going to be terrible. She can't play heel. She can play heel. The fact that you're so frustrated with what she's doing right now proves that she can play a great heel. So keep getting mad and keep proving her and them right. There's not much else to say about that, and there's not much else to say about the main event either. Roman's going to beat the Demon Finn Balor, or the Demon Finn Balor is not going to leave with the title, is what I'll say. You don't really want to beat the Demon, because the Demon is undefeated in WWE, and WWE lore. I mean, I know he lost once in NXT to, I think, Samoa Joe, which is fine. Samoa Joe is a good candidate if you're going to have somebody beat the Demon. but it hasn't happened on the main roster. The Demon won the inaugural Universal title and then had to give it away the next day for reasons that were totally not Seth Rollins' fault, but we like to blame Seth Rollins because we don't like Seth Rollins. It's kind of a bummer he doesn't have anything to do on this card either. Neither do the Falling Apart Mysterios, but don't worry, we can ignore that. Now, Roman Reigns has a lot on his plate. So I think this is going to be a bullshit ending, and that's why we have the Extreme Rules stipulation in there. Who's going to run in on this? Well, he's just established a rivalry with Bobby Lashley on Raw when he beat him in that triple threat. The triple threat was great, by the way, and New Day versus the Bloodline was great. Raw's pretty shit, but that doesn't mean you don't say that the stuff that was good when it's good. He's got a new established rivalry with Bobby Lashley now across brands. You've got Big E, who a couple months early is already saying, yeah, wait till I whip your ass at Survivor Series when they do the Battle of the Brands, which is fine. You got the Demon, who he's facing tomorrow. You've got, Brock Lesnar. You got the rumors about The Rock next year at WrestleMania. You've got anybody that has a problem with him and his brothers as far as the tag team situation goes. You've potentially got the Street Profits that are going to want to take a chunk out of him after what they did to Montez Ford on SmackDown. So I don't think the Demon leaves with the championship, but I think they use all these moving parts, all these chess pieces to have Roman retain without the Demon losing. Now, is that boring? Is that unfulfilling? Is that a schmoz? Is that, sort of a wet fart of an ending? Yes. Which is why I don't think this is going to be the main event. I think, even though it's equally predictable, unless WWE's dumb, I think they're setting up Becky and Bianca Belair to be the main event. And I think, again, that's why they haven't put a WWE title in there, because they want to keep this show sort of nice and concise. I don't know how I feel about the short show in the essence of everybody complained about super long WrestleMania. I went to WrestleMania 18 in Toronto when it was still a relatively decent sized show. If I was going to a pay-per-view, let alone a WrestleMania, I would stock up on energy drinks. I would take all the pisses I could before the show, and I would soak up as much wrestling as they would possibly give me, considering the cost of what those tickets probably were. Now that they have live fans back, I think it's a super unpopular take, but you can start expanding those shows back out again, especially the big four, especially like your Survivor Series, your Royal Rumbles, your WrestleManias, because you put them in the big, huge open-air stadiums and whatever, and you make them feel big time-wise, make them feel big card-wise. Get as much into that show as you can. And like I say, I know I'm sitting on an island with that take, but I sit on an island with a lot of my takes. I mean, look at the beginning of this episode. Anyways, that's it for Extreme Rules. That's really all I have to say. WWE doesn't inspire me to come up here and talk to them, or talk about them very much right now, so you don't hear me talking about them very much right now. But there is a pay-per-view. There are some matches that I'm sort of passively looking forward to, if that makes sense. The Alexa Bliss stuff, just because it's right up my street. Liv Morgan actually getting some pay-per-view time. Roman and Balor is going to be good. I just think the ending's going to suck. I don't know, this is going out the day of the pay-per-view. I don't know how many people are even going to watch it. If you watched this on the Sunday morning that it went out, put it down in the box below. Let me know. This might be the way I do it from now on, depending on how my co-host situation continues to develop. I've rambled on for quite long enough, and it's tired in here, as usual. The perpetually tired Spaz Phoenix, your YWC reality check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation. Keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later. But for right now, I am tagging out. Bye, guys.